Senator, welcome to Face the Nation.
Good morning, Margaret.
Question for you to start off here is based on the news we learned this week surrounding some of the legal problems with the president. Federal prosecutors in Manhattan said that his personal attorney made illegal campaign finance payments at the direction of Individual One. Specifically, prosecutors say Individual One, President Donald Trump, made payment in coordination with and at the direction of Individual One. So everything that Michael Cohen paid for, prosecutors say, was directed by the president. What do you make of this filing? The president says it exonerates him.
It's a sentencing filing, Margaret, but I think, and a couple of your former guests have already suggested this, that it is important until we await, the additional evidence that comes out. And the special counsel, Robert Mueller, and his team continue to do their work. But I think at this point we have an incomplete picture. And I think at this point the president, as you know, as you said earlier, has denied some of these allegations that have been made. Michael Cohen obviously has plenty of incentive now to cooperate, and the representations that he makes, I think you have to, there are going to be some questions raised about those as well. So I guess my view is that let's wait. This thing is still not complete until it is complete. I think it's probably mostly speculation on the part of those of us who are not privy to all the details that the Mueller investigation are looking at.
Well, this was specific to the prosecutors in Manhattan in terms of those specific charges. But moving on here.
Correct. Yeah, but I think it's the same thing. I mean, they've got this is still we don't know all the facts until we know all the facts. I think it's important, probably not to draw any judgments, but we'll know in due time.
You have a big job now. As we introduced you, you're going to be the whip here. How quickly can you get President Trump's nominee to be Attorney General, William Barr, confirmed? What is the timeline we're looking at here?
Well, there's certainly a process, and confirmation hearings, the name gets submitted. Obviously, there's background checks. It shouldn't be all that difficult. This is someone who has a long record in public life and also has held this position previously. My guess is that when it's all said and done, when it comes to a vote in the full Senate, that he'll have strong support. I would hope that he would have strong support from Democrats in the Senate as well as Republicans. He is, we know, very qualified, and I think has a proven record of accomplishment as a lawyer both in the private sector and his work in government as well. So, but we will await the process, allow it to move forward, and the confirmation hearings to get underway. But I would suspect his prospects would be pretty good, at least if you looked at it at this point. We're trying to handicap it.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's talk about what's happening in the next few weeks, what some call the lame duck here. There is some work you still need to be able to get done. One of the things that Senator Lindsey Graham has been vocal about is a conversation he had with the president in which he says the president told him he wants to attach criminal justice reform and border wall funding to the year-end spending bill. What do you make of that proposal?
There are several things that we have to do before the end of this year, before the next Congress starts. We have to fund the government. About 75% of the bills that fund the government have been passed by the Congress and signed in law by the president, but there remain about 25%, one of which is the appropriation bill that funds the Department of Homeland Security, which would include funding for the border wall. Mm-hmm. Criminal justice reform is an issue that we have a lot of members in our conference who support, but that's still being worked on, and if it's going to be considered this year, I think it's probably going to they're going to have to find a consensus that would enable it to move fairly quickly, because we just don't have a lot of time. We've got to fund the government, we've got to pass a farm bill, we've got a lot of nominations we want to move through the process, so there's a pretty detailed list of things that Congress still has to get done, and criminal justice reform obviously is in that mix at the moment, but how it shakes out in the end, I think remains to be seen. But I would suspect in order for it to be a part of that year-end train, and everybody tries to hitch a ride on that year-end train, that there will have to be some consensus about it so that it can be expedited and not take the full 6 days procedurally that it could if all the the procedural tools were used by those who are opposed to it.
Well, the president's publicly pressuring Republican leaders to act on this. He wants criminal justice reform done. So you can't commit to that now?
Well, he does, and we know that, and we've had conversations with him, and there are many, as I said, many Republican senators and a lot of Democrat senators who want to see it happen as well. There are timing issues associated with it, but at the moment at least, there are still some substantive issues that are being resolved. I think if they get that worked out, if they can attract the support of more Republican senators, there is still an opportunity, I think, for that to be finished this year. But if not, obviously, it will be taken up again next year, and it's an issue that there's a lot of interest in.
Very quickly, can you avoid a shutdown before Christmas?
Well, I think we can. I think that people have to come together. Democrats obviously need to support and get behind this border security issue. You know, they shut the government down earlier this year over the issue of immigration, and that didn't end well for them. I think that you know, making sure that we defend our borders is a priority for the American people. It should be a priority for the Congress.
Thank you, Senator. We'll be right back in a moment.